Welcome to the HuntFishTravel Podcast. She's all geared up and ready to chase walleyes in the middle of the night on the Wisconsin River. But first, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome to the HuntFishTravel Podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Zilka, and I am super excited about today's interview. Today, we are talking to Yvonne Brown, the founder and head instructor for Ontario Women Anglers, and we are going to talk about fishing in Ontario. Yvonne, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think everybody's kind of got a little bit of cabin fever going, so talking about some fishing, getting out on the water, really excites me right now.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ontario Women Angler? What is that all about?
Well, it's an organization that I started planning in late 2012. I had been away from the sport for some time, and I fished as a kid and into my teens, and then I kind of left the sport for a while, and I got back into it probably, I'm going to say 10, 12 years ago, and ended up going to an event in Northern Ontario where there was 80 women that participated in a lot of different activities, fishing being one of them, and the response was so positive. And I just saw this need for women that wanted to not only learn how to fish or, maybe get their kids involved in fishing, but they also wanted to learn from other women. And so I came up with this concept of, initially it was called Fishing 101 for Women, because I wasn't thinking too far down the road, and I was really concentrating on beginners. And the first 2 or 3 years we ran under, it was just a sort of like an introduction program to recreational fishing. But then people kept coming back and saying, okay, we're comfortable with the basics, so what do we do now? And so it evolved into, we would have species-specific events like bass and pike, and now we have muskie, and we do fly fishing, ice fishing. We have weekends away. We do workshops. So, it's really evolved into this year-round, multifaceted club where we've got, hundreds of ladies engaged and lots of great friendships that have formed through it.
Wow, that is amazing. That's really cool. And I know just sometimes you go to these women events and you feel a little more comfortable rather than having a bunch of guys staring at you and judging you. And I can imagine you get a lot of the single gals or...
we have ladies from all walks of life.
That's great.
Most anywhere between early 20s, right up to their 70s. There are some events where we have some male volunteers. For example, we have a bass tournament, usually every other year, and a couple other events where we have boaters. And a lot of times they're male volunteers. We have 2 ladies on a boat, and they love coming to our events and helping out. And lots of them have said they'd rather come out and help out at an Ontario Women Anglers event than to do something with a club that's all men.
Yeah, I can imagine. Tell me about the Master Angler program. What's that?
Well, the Master Angler program, I also belong to another group called Wisconsin Women Fish in your neck of the woods.
Yep.
And I've been a member with them for about 4 years. There's another organization here in Ontario. They also run a similar program. So I kind of I got the idea from both organizations to run one for Ontario Women Anglers. So we have about 18 species on a list, and there is a minimum length for each species. So, for example, if you catch a 14-inch perch, that's a Master Angler fish, and you're awarded a silver Master Angler pin for each species that you get in a year. And I think our year runs November 1st to October 31st. When you accumulate 10 silver Master Angler pins, you can trade in 9 for a gold senior Master Angler pin. So it's just a way of, ladies, perhaps they already fish and they're just looking to challenge themselves. So they may target new species, or they may try different techniques like trolling or float fishing to catch other species on the list that maybe they've never tried to catch it previously.
And Interesting. That's really cool. And what a great way to just incentivize getting out on the water.
Yeah, and it's also a way of mentoring each other too, because we have some ladies in our club that are quite proficient in, let's say, fly fishing or muskie fishing. So, they may achieve their muskie, like a master angler pin for, muskie over, it's 44 inches. And, they may go out and support another lady who may want to target muskie but have never had a lot of experience, and maybe they don't have the tackle for it either. So it's a great opportunity for women to support each other and mentor each other in achieving some of their master angler goals.
Sure. I'm looking at this event that you got going on here in September. Tell me more about this event. This looks so cool.
Is that French River?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
OWA French River weekend. Yeah.
So French River is kind of the gateway to Northern Ontario. It's near a town called Sudbury, and we are planning on having a women's weekend up at a lodge called Totem Point. They've been around for a long, long time, and they've hosted a number of different fishing groups. And it's really just, I think we've got nearly 30 ladies interested in going. They, paid their deposit, and it's just a weekend away. And, they can bring their own boats. They can rent a boat. They're housekeeping cottages, so, you cook your own meals and whatnot. But it's a beautiful place in this part of the province. And there's so many different species that you can fish for. I know a lot of people will be targeting walleye, muskie, pike, and there's panfish and bass as well. So it's just a great opportunity for us to sort of get away, and it's not instructional like some of our events are, and it's just a great social time on the water.
That's so neat. It's only open to 20 people. Am I reading that right?
I think initially we had to have a minimum of 20 for the event to run. And I believe that we have close to 30 now. But we're kind of playing it by ear. We're really hoping that, some of the travel restrictions that we're facing right now are going to be lifted by that time.
Yeah, I would hope so. How is that affecting some of your events? Is it affecting them?
Well, yeah, we've had to cancel our April events. Were canceled. We didn't have anything scheduled in May, but I do have 3 events in June. One is a pike event, and we go out with guides. That's in an area near Kingston, Ontario. The other one is a shore fishing tournament. It's called the Chester Cup, and that's a one-day event. And then we had a weekend planned. Again, that's near Kingston, Ontario as well. And that is, it's a property that's owned by a university. It's called Queen's University, and it's the property is actually like a biological research station. So they have this great lake. It's full of largemouth bass. They're not very big, so it's an awesome learning lake as well for ladies who are new to the sport. They get to handle fish and learn how to properly handle them. And there's nothing in the lake with teeth. So they don't have to be intimidated by, catching a walleye and not quite sure how to handle it. So it's we've been running that weekend event for, I think it's got to be close to 7 years now. And it's always really, really popular and well attended.
Wow, that's really cool.
So those ones, we don't know quite yet what the provincial government's going to be saying, once June rolls around. Are we still going to have... We do have some restrictions, like they've closed our public launches. They are, of course, imposing social distancing and some, they don't want people to travel unnecessarily. So if that's still the case come June, then we won't be able to run the event, and then we'll just, see how things go through the summer.
That's awesome. So tell me about you. How did you get into fishing? How did you get it, how did that all progress?
Well, my family and I, we grew up in a suburb of Toronto, and we used to go to this lake. It's called Rice Lake, and it was probably about an hour and a half away from home. I was about 4 years old when I started fishing. My dad taught us all how to fish, And we would go out in the boat once in a while, but I can remember countless hours of just being on the dock and catching, sunfish and perch and whatever else came our way. But as I got older, when I got into high school, I started joining different sports and, I had a different circle of friends. So although I still boated and canoed and loved being on the water, I didn't really, I wasn't engaged in fishing anymore. Then I would say about 30 years later, I was back on the water with my dad and my youngest son, and we went out fishing, and I caught a bass. And at that time, I couldn't have told you what type of bass it was. I didn't know how to rig my rod. My dad had to do everything for me. And he didn't catch anything that day, but was so proud of the fact that it turned out to be a smallmouth, and he was just over the moon that I caught this big fish. I mean, to me, it was big. It was about 3 pounds, but and at that time, I thought, I could learn how to do this on my own. I could learn how to set up my own rod, figure out what lures I should use for different species or techniques, and learn how to identify fish. And the following year, I found out that a friend in my badminton club, he was an angler, and so he started taking me out, and he taught me first how to walleye fish, because that was the season that opened first. And then bass fishing came after that. And he and I spent a number of years fishing together. I started doing tournaments. I joined bass clubs. And then, the evolution of the Fishing 101 program came about. So it's all kind of, when I got back into fishing, I never thought that, this would be, 10 years. I'd be doing this 10, 12 years down the road.
Wow. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So say I call you up and I say, Yvonne, I want to go fishing in Ontario. Where should I go? What would you respond with?
It really depends, I guess, on what you want to fish for. Like where I live, I'm about 2 hours east of Toronto. We can go to Lake Ontario. We could troll for salmon. We could fish. There's lots of lakes around here. You could go for walleye, bass, crappie, muskie, pike. We just have so many species within minutes of where I live. I'm very, very fortunate. This area is called Land of Lakes, and if you were to look on a map, you'll just see so much blue. But where I used to live, close to Toronto, there's a lot of tributaries off of Lake Ontario. There's a lot of good steelheading spots there. If you go a little bit north to Barrie, there's a huge lake called Lake Simcoe, again, also for smallmouth bass, and it's really well known for perch, both winter and summer fishing. So it really depends on, you don't have to go far to fish for many different species in many different ways. So sure. We have so many fishing and outdoor opportunities in this province. We're very, very privileged.
That is cool. I'm just looking at a map here. It's not too far from Wisconsin. Michigan residents, I'm sure they're up there all the time.
Yeah, we have a lot of visitors from Michigan during the summers. And I've been to an event in Wisconsin, and I think for me at the time it was about a 14-hour drive. So it's not, outrageously far, but long, far enough that you're going to have to probably spend, you probably have to stop overnight and then, journey on the next day.
Yeah. And it looks like, let's see, an 8-day sport fishing license for non-resident is about $50. So it's quite reasonable even.
Yes.
And that's nice.
Fishing doesn't have to be, like anything, it's, if you want to learn how to golf, you can pick up a beginner set. Of course, the more serious and the more involved you get, you're going to maybe spend thousands of dollars on green fees and clubs and whatever else. And fishing is the same way. It doesn't have to be terribly expensive when you're first starting out. The one good thing about this organization, too, is that the majority of our events, we have equipment to loan out. So if someone is just getting into fishing and they're not quite sure what they want to buy, we always encourage them to use our equipment first. We have a company, Shimano, who has been a great supporter for the last, I think, about 7 years now. And they've provided a lot of the rods and reels and some other equipment over, the last number of years for us to use and for us to loan out. And we just, I think people appreciate the fact that they can use a quality product before they go spending money and then find out, it's not really what works for them. So we have a number of different volunteers and instructors too that, will help them show them how to use the equipment properly. And I think that people really appreciate the time that you spend with them to explain, why purchase this rod over another one.
For sure. Totally agree. Very cool. This is a really neat, I'm just kind of tooling around the website and stuff. Really neat organization. Really neat stuff that you guys are doing here. Really cool. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to come on the show here quick and talk about fishing in Ontario and kind of letting the listeners know about this. I do have a ton of ladies who listen to the show, so
great.
It wouldn't surprise
me
if you see
if they're ever up, if they're ever up this way and we happen to be running an event, I encourage them to get in touch with me. I'd welcome visitors from the States to come and join us. I get the opportunity once in a while to go down to Wisconsin. Actually, the Wisconsin group came up to Ontario a couple of years ago on a trip, and we joined in with them, and it was a fantastic week. It's funny, we got the invitation, and they thought that we were actually going to be closer, but it was like a 22-hour drive for us because of where we lived in the province, where it was only maybe 7 to 8 hours for the majority of them that attended. But it's awesome to meet other ladies from whether it's other parts of the province or the country or across the border, and just so many friendships and memories are made through those experiences.
Yeah, Barb and them, they do a great job with the Wisconsin Women Fish. A great job.
Yeah, she's awesome, and that group is just they're very, very close knit, and I know some of them are great friends now.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Yvonne, tell the listeners where they can go to find out more about the organization and more about you as well.
Well, we have a website, OntarioWomenAnglers.ca, and we're also on Facebook. We have a public page, but we also have a closed group, and there's nearly 900 ladies in there. Most of them are from Ontario, but there are some from out of province and from the States as well. And they're welcome to join that. It's only women in that group. And I'm on Facebook as well. They can look me up, and if someone wanted to reach out, send me a message, I'd welcome it.
Great. Awesome. And that'll do it. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to find the show on iTunes. Just search for HuntFishTravel Podcast and hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on social media. You can find HuntFishTravel on Facebook, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie Zylka, CarrieZylka.